Iraqi troops are celebrating after the country's prime minister declared victory over the Islamic State after recapturing the war-torn city of Mosul. Over the weekend, soldiers turned the terror group's flag upside down, symbolizing the liberation of the former ISIS stronghold. This comes almost 3 years after ISIS fighters took control of the city, and the fight to retake it took thousands of lives and forced hundreds of thousands of people to flee their homes. Now the question arises, what comes next for Mosul? Bernard Haykel joins me now. He's a professor of Near East Studies at Princeton University. Professor Haykel, the Iraqi prime minister has declared victory for the country, but victory is only day one. Now rebuilding. What are the steps ahead?
Well, you know, the core issue in Iraq is the disenfranchisement of the Sunni population, which really started with the American invasion and continued with the government that took over Iraq after the invasion.
So then we should clarify, to explain to people who haven't been following it intensely, the government of Iraq is Shia, and the majority of the people living in Mosul are Sunni. So this is two branches of Islam, right?
That's right. Those are two different sects of Islam, and the Shia in Iraq represent about 60% of the population, and the Sunni Arabs are about 20%.
And so is the concern, well, is the concern that the government, the Shia government, will not be responsive to the rebuilding needs of the Sunni population in Mosul?
I mean, that's partly it. It's also that they have to include the Sunnis in a power sharing agreement in how the country is run. They also have to give the Sunnis certain resources, financial resources, because this is a country where most of the wealth comes from oil production and sale. So if they exclude the Sunnis from government posts, they exclude them from the economy, they exclude them from political power, you're going to have some form of ISIS-like revival amongst the Sunnis.
Walk me through that. How would ISIS benefit from the government of Iraq failing to rebuild as the city would like it to?
Well, Mosul is the second largest city in Iraq. It's a predominantly Sunni city, and if it's left in rubble and the people of Mosul are not allowed back in, it'll be a sign that the Iraqi government basically wants to continue a policy of discrimination and disenfranchisement and persecution of the Sunnis. And that leads Sunnis to radicalization, and groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS are a manifestation of that radicalization, of that feeling that Sunnis have that they don't have a stake in the system or in their own country, and the only thing to resort to is violence.
How real is the concern that the rebuilding won't happen, given that Iraqi forces fought hard and lost many lives trying to retake the city?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, you know, how will they rebuild? Will they allow the original population of the city to come back, or will they try to keep them out, because most of them are in refugee camps right now? I mean, this is a government in Baghdad, in the capital, that has led in the past to the depopulation of entire districts of Sunnis. So it engages in sectarian cleansing operations, and we'll see whether Mosul will be more of the same, or whether indeed this government is going to try to transcend sectarian divisions and try to be more Iraqi and national in its policies and in the application of governance.
While we're talking here, viewers are looking at unbelievable footage of the damage in the city of Mosul. It looks like drone footage from the air. It's a man-made disaster, but it looks like a natural disaster on an unprecedented scale. On that question of the damage, is there a way to quantify it? How would you describe it economically, culturally, geopolitically?
Well, I think that, you know, I've heard various figures about what it would cost to rebuild the city. The smallest amount is $1 billion, which the Iraqi government would easily have if it wants to spend it there. And maybe it could be many more billions of dollars. And I'm talking billion as in B.
Yeah.
Now, you know, that it's possible that they can rebuild it, but Mosul stands for, historically, it's a very important city in terms of the culture and the standing of the Sunni community of Iraq. And the Sunnis, by the way, beyond Iraq, just in the entire Arab world, eastern part of the Arab world. So it's very important for this government to show that it's not sectarian. The troops that you're showing, by the way, now are almost entirely Shiite troops, and a number of them are actually militia men, not formal military army people. There are Iraqi army troops, but there are also lots of Shiite militias, who, by the way, are backed by Iran.
So the victory declared today by the Iraqi prime minister, it's not a Shia victory, it's a Sunni victory. It's the militias that we're seeing celebrating?
Well, from what I see so far, well, yes, actually right now in that image that you have, so you have the Iraqi flag, which is a national flag, but you also have a flag in the background with one of the imams of the Shiites. So it's also a Shiite celebration. And that kind of division in messaging by the Iraqi government, is this a Shiite victory or is this a national Iraqi victory? Is not clear. And I think that the government is playing on both registers, and that's quite dangerous for the future of Iraq.
All right, Professor Bernard Haykel, Professor of Near East Studies at Princeton University. Professor, we appreciate your insight.
Thank you.